The cold wind cuts your face. You smell urine and blood rising from the ground. Your torch is almost out, and you know that when it dies, you die with it. Behind you, footsteps. Someone is following. You turn slowly and see eyes glowing in the darkness. They aren't human. Your heart explodes in your chest. Your hands tremble so much that you almost drop the only light you have. Stop. You're not in a horror movie. You're living a common night in the Middle Ages. Forget everything you know about noble knights and princesses. The truth is that when the sun went down, even the bravest warriors cried in fear. No electricity, no police, nowhere to run. Thieves waiting on every corner, demons flying overhead, wolves howling in the distance. In the next few minutes, you'll feel what it was really like to live, and why our ancestors fought so hard to never live like this again. Why are we afraid of the dark? Why are our nightmares full of shadows? Why did humanity tremble in terror for 1,000 years? Get ready, because tonight you're going back in time to the hell they called medieval life. Do you still feel the terror running through your veins? Can you still hear the footsteps following you? Then you're ready to discover how this nightmare began every night. The church bells echo through the city. They aren't calls to prayer. They are the announcement of your death sentence. It's the curfew. From this moment on, you officially should no longer exist on the street. You see people running, merchants closing their stalls in desperation, women pulling children by their arms, strong men, warriors who have faced battles, locking their doors as if the devil himself were arriving, because he was. In a matter of minutes, the prosperous city transforms into a graveyard. Streets that were recently full of life now look like tunnels to hell. You hear the last vendor shouting, "Run! The night is coming!" Then silence falls, a silence that hurts your ears, that makes your heart beat faster, that reminds you that you are now completely alone, except for the watchmen. Do you see them leaving their homes? Ordinary neighbors who have been transformed into soldiers of terror. They carry pikes they barely know how to use, horn lanterns that only illuminate their terrified faces. They aren't police. They're people like you, forced to patrol hell because someone has to. Most never came home. You hear their nervous footsteps on the stones, their panting breaths, their whispered prayers, begging to survive until dawn. The city has just died, and now the true predators are waking up. The watchmen have just passed down your street. You hear their footsteps fading away, and it's in this moment of silence that they appear. From the shadows, from the alleys, from places you didn't even know existed, you see a hooded figure moving between the houses. In their hand, a lantern you've never seen before. It doesn't illuminate. It darkens. He has poured oil on the flame to make it almost invisible. He is a ghost, a perfect predator of the darkness. You want to run, but your feet are glued to the ground because you know there's more. There is always more. On the other side of the street, you hear a strange noise, metal scraping on stone. Someone is setting a trap, a rope stretched at the height of your neck. You take a step and stumble. The rope was there, millimeters from your throat. Before you can get up, you feel something cold on your neck. It's the tip of a dagger. The voice behind you is a poisonous whisper. Your coins or your life. Your hands tremble as you search for the few coins in your pocket, but you know that even if you hand over everything, he might kill you just for fun. Because in the medieval darkness, thieves weren't just thieves. They were vultures, demons of flesh and blood who had turned the night into their hunting ground. They knew every loose stone, every hole in the ground, every shadow that could hide a body. You were just a lost tourist in their kingdom. And what's worse, the watchmen who were supposed to protect you were on the other side of the city praying not to find exactly what you just found. You handed over your coins. The dagger moved away from your neck. By some miracle, you're still alive, but now you're penniless, unprotected, and you still have to survive the night. You see a faint light at the end of the street. You hear voices, laughter, music. It's a tavern, your only possible refuge. You push the heavy wooden door. The smell hits you like a fist to the stomach, old sweat, vomit, urine, and something you pray isn't blood. But you enter because outside is certain death. What you see freezes your blood. Men with scars on their faces are playing dice on a stained table. Their laughter isn't joyful. It's sadistic. You realize the dice are weighted, filled with lead. In the corner, a man shouts, "You cheated!" Crash! The table overturns, glasses fly. You see the glint of a blade. In 3 seconds, 2 men are on the floor. One moans, begging for help. The other no longer moves. Blood runs across the rotten straw that covers the floor. And do you know what everyone does? Nothing, absolutely nothing. The innkeeper grabs a dirty broom and pushes the body outside as if it were trash, as if it were normal, because it was normal. You sit in a corner, trembling, and order some watered-down beer that tastes more like fermented sewage water. But you drink it because alcohol is the only thing that can numb the terror. Next to you, a mercenary plans the next robbery. Tomorrow we'll get the caravan at the bridge, he whispers. We kill everyone. We leave no witnesses. You realize you're not in a refuge. You're in the predator's den, and now they know you exist. The mercenaries stop talking. All eyes turn to you. They realize you heard too much. You see hands moving towards daggers. You get up slowly and walk to the door. Every step feels like an eternity. You feel that at any moment a blade could pierce your back, but you manage to get out. Now you're in the street again, but at least you have a destination, the inn in the next town. If you can get there alive, you start walking down the dirt road. Each step sinks into the cold mud. Your torch illuminates only a few meters ahead. Beyond that, total darkness. Then you hear a long, savage howl echoing through the forest. Wolves. Your blood freezes. You know they can smell fear, that they hunt in packs, that when they attack they don't even leave the bones. You quicken your pace, but this is a mistake because now you hear something else. Galloping. Horses approaching quickly. You hide behind a tree. You see 5 armed men passing by, bandits looking for lost travelers like you. You hold your breath and pray they don't see your light. They pass, but you know they'll be back. You arrive at a rural inn and knock on the door in desperation. It's closed, a voice shouts from inside. You're late. You beg, offering your boots, your shirt, anything. Finally, the door opens. You enter a place that looks more like a prison. Men sleeping on the dirty floor, snores mixed with sickly coughs. You lie down in a corner, but you don't sleep, because through the window you see eyes glowing in the darkness. The wolves have arrived and are waiting for someone to leave. The medieval road was not a journey. It was a Russian roulette where every step could be your last. You finally fall asleep, but not for long, because at 3 a.m. you wake up to terrible screams coming from outside the inn. They aren't human screams. They're something else. You get up slowly and peek through the crack in the window. What you see makes your heart stop. A dark figure floats above the forest. It's not walking. It's flying. And in its hands, something that looks like blood glows under the moon. It's a witch, and she's heading straight for the inn. You back away from the window, trembling, but all the other travelers have woken up too. And you see pure terror in their eyes. She's going to suck our blood, an old man whispers. She's going to steal our souls while we sleep. Do you think he's crazy? Until you hear a noise on the roof, footsteps, scratching, something trying to get in. A man in the corner starts praying desperately. Another grabs a handful of salt and spreads it on the door. A woman holds a crucifix so tightly that her knuckles turn white. Because for them, this isn't superstition. It's reality. You hear whispered stories in the dark. Demons that enter through the ears and eat the brain. Incubi that rape sleeping women. Lost souls that pull travelers into hell. And do you know what's most terrifying? No one questions it. No one doubts it. Because in the medieval darkness, the supernatural was as real as hunger. You take a clove of garlic from your pocket. Not because you believe, but because when you're surrounded by wolves, bandits, and witches, any protection is worth it. Outside, the screams continue, and you realize that even inside the inn, you're not safe, because in the Middle Ages, demons didn't need an invitation to enter. The screams stop, the silence returns. You survived the night of the demons, but now you understand why medieval families locked themselves inside when the sun went down. You imagine an ordinary family, father, mother, 3 children, living in a wooden house with walls as thin as paper. When the bells ring, they have no choice. They lock the door with a heavy bolt, push furniture against the windows, light a single candle in the center of the room, and huddle together. The children cry. They hear the same screams you heard. They see the same shadows passing through the crack in the door. "Mommy, is someone outside?" The youngest daughter whispers. The mother pulls her closer. "Don't look, don't listen, just pray." But looking isn't the problem. The problem is that they are all together, breathing the same air, sharing the same heat, and sharing the same plagues. You feel something biting your leg, lice. They jump from body to body, sucking blood, spreading diseases. The oldest son starts to cough. It's a violent cough. In a matter of hours, the whole family is coughing. There's no doctor, no medicine, just prayer. The father rubs garlic on the child's forehead. The mother whispers ancient prayers. They light a second candle, even knowing it increases the risk of fire. Because for them, fever is the work of a demon, and the only cure is faith. You watch them hug each other tighter with every noise from outside. Every wolf's howl, every thief's step. They aren't a family. They're survivors, counting the seconds until dawn, knowing that at any moment the door could be broken down and that if it happens, there's nowhere to run. You watch this family survive another night. You saw the relief in their eyes when the first rays of sun came through the crack in the window. They made it to another day of life. But now you go home. You press a button on the wall. Light. Instant, bright, safe light. You don't even think about it. It's automatic. You open the refrigerator. Fresh food, clean water, medicines in the drawer. Everything that medieval family never had. You turn on the TV, complain about traffic, complain about work, complain that the Wi-Fi is slow. And suddenly you realize you'll never complain about these things the same way again because now you know. You know what it's like to walk down a street where every shadow can hide a murderer, where every sip of water could be your last, where every breath is a victory. You go for a walk at night. You see the illuminated streets. You see people laughing, talking without fear. You see children playing on the sidewalk. And you think, this is a miracle, because for 1,000 years humanity lived in terror. Every night was a fight for survival. All darkness was a mortal threat. Our ancestors died of fear. They literally had heart attacks just from hearing footsteps in the street. They went crazy with the constant terror. They fought, invented, created everything so that you never have to live what they lived. And do you know what's most incredible? They succeeded. You can walk alone at midnight. You can turn on a light with a touch. You can call for help by pressing a button. You have defeated the darkness, defeated fear, defeated the medieval night. But to never forget where you came from, to never forget the price that was paid for your safety, you need to remember them. Those who died in the dark so that you could live in the light. You just lived what our ancestors lived for 1,000 years. You felt the cold of the blade on your neck. You heard the screams of the demons. You saw entire families trembling with terror until dawn. Now you know the truth that no one tells you. The Middle Ages was not a time of romantic knights and princesses. It was a 1,000-year nightmare, an era where every night was a battle for survival. But you made it here. You had the courage to face this truth, even when it made you feel real fear. That shows what kind of person you are. You're not like the majority who prefer to live in a fantasy. You want the raw truth even when it hurts. And if you really felt every word I said, if you really traveled in time with me, then you need to do something for me. You need to spread this truth. Because with each passing day, more people believe in the fairy tales of the Middle Ages. More people forget the real suffering our ancestors went through. So click that like button, not for me, but for every person who died of terror in the darkness and never had their story told with the truth it deserved. Subscribe to the channel, because I promise I will continue to unearth these truths they tried to hide from you. I will take you to other moments in history that were much worse than you imagine. Share this video. Show it to someone who still thinks that the past was better. Let them feel the same terror that you just felt. And tell me in the comments, after everything you lived today, would you still want to have been born in the Middle Ages? Or have you finally realized that living today is a privilege that few in history have had? Because sometimes we need to go back to hell to appreciate the paradise we have conquered.